Hello, my beautiful souls. Today, I want to talk with you about anxiety and about how anxiety can actually influence our future and our dreams, our goals, and everything that we desire, as well as our present moment. And I especially want to talk about how I believe that anxiety is actually a mask that maybe was also created for us to believe in it, so that we wouldn't really ask ourselves what is underneath the anxiety. And if you are suffering from anxiety, or if you're feeling stressed like a lot of times in your life, you might want to listen to this, because I think it's gonna be pretty special. And yeah, anxiety, stress, if you look at the emotions that we have, anxiety is not really like emotion itself. I believe it's like we named anxiety our body, the way our body responds to fear or to a stressful situation, to, let's say, to a danger. So I believe that anxiety is nothing else than our body constantly being in a fight and flight mode. And it's not an emotion itself that we are meant to live into or live with. It's basically a mechanism that our bodies have to remind us where is danger, where things can go wrong. But I do believe that things went so way wrong, because we live in such a safe environment. And in the past, I believe this mechanism was really useful when, it's still useful, of course, if there is a gun shooting somewhere and you run on the other side and there is adrenaline rushing through you. Of course, this mechanism will still work. However, the problem is that we are constantly in that state, in that pressure that we feel within. And this is not living. This is not something that we should be satisfied with. And my personal opinion is that anxiety is the number one killer for creativity. Because when you're in anxiety, you will only create from fear. You will only create things that are already created. Something that is already, you have seen it. You create a must for you to create it. So it's kind of forced. And if you really want to be like a soulful creator, so that you want to create something new for this world, something that is really genuine, coming from your heart and from your soul, creating from anxiety and creating from stress and creating from feeling like I have to do this, it's not gonna work. You can ask any artist out there, you can ask any writer, whoever wanted to force stuff, that it's usually not working well. And I think that we have to reshape how we look at the anxiety and how we approach it. In my opinion, like the way I'm dealing with it is, I have a huge standard for how I want to feel, and I don't want to feel anxious. It's not my desired way of feeling, because I think it's just it's a messy state. It's like I don't get anything done. I'm just confused. I'm like looking around and like trying to figure out what's going on, and it's all so messy and it doesn't work. And we have to find our own way how to move this energy that is stuck within us into a different energy that will tell us what's actually happening. And my personal way of doing this is like, I have couples of them. Like, one is stillness. I really love to just stay still in the chaos and remind myself of being here and now, coming back to the presence, bringing all my energy back, just imagining that, whatever people I'm thinking about or whatever projects I'm thinking about, I just imagine in my meditation to bring the energy back from all these places back into my body, and I just keep on bringing energy back in it. And there's something within me that starts emerging, and there is that inner knowing that I believe you have to train yourself to come there. It's not like, if you're gonna try it for the first time, it's like being still while being anxious might get you a panic attack, because it's not the easiest way to do it, and it wasn't also my preferred one when I started. It's only my preferred one now. And I'm also including like breath work or different kind of breathings to just keep myself more present. But before, it was often just like going for a walk in nature, or just going away from whatever is bothering me and going somewhere where I can feel the stillness, where I can see the stillness, where I can see that the world is still moving and that nothing is wrong, and the birds are still singing and the flowers are still blooming, and it's just like an awesome reminder that things are still happening. Then also some other forms are, for example, dancing, or just moving your body, or shouting, or just like sometimes it is like that I need to express anger, that the anxiety is coming from me shutting my opinion down, and trying to not be, too judgmental to other people, or too judgmental to the situation that is happening. And I don't believe that we are meant to, just be shiny and light and beautiful all the time. I think that if you have impulse to say something or to express something, it's meant to be expressed, not necessarily in a way that you want to load off to a person, but in a safe environment. They call it like a conscious raging, or conscious expressing of your anger, where you are in a safe environment, and when you're just like saying whatever is bothering you. And like these are my ways of like moving through anxiety. And a lot of times it's also like when I'm connecting to that stillness, is like I start like talking to these feelings within me, like, or if I see anxious, I always ask myself what's underneath, like what's really bothering me, why do I feel so uncomfortable in my life right now, like which stories are not matching, like what story am I trying to create, and I think that it's not happening right now, because that's what it is when it comes to anxiety. And I think this is an important thing to acknowledge, is anxiety comes from you not being satisfied with the way things are right now, and it's always that a story of what is happening and a story of what do you want to be happening are not matching. And because they're not matching, because there's something that is off, you feel frustrated. And it's usually like, and this is where I feel like we have a lot of work to do, is the stories that we are telling ourselves. Because in the present moment, there's like, except there is like, if there is a tiger behind you that is chasing you, in other situations, in the present moment, everything is okay. Everything is fine. Everything is great, actually. Things are good. And even if something bad happens, it's still, I don't know, it's like, if you're really connecting to that moment and you just feel it's true, and whatever it is, it's like, it's there, it's your presence, it's life, I'm not saying that things are always easy, because they are not, but I do believe that in the present moment we're usually just great. we might be all sorts of great, but if and there, I don't remember whose book was it, but I remember I was listening in one book on Audible, and it was about like the trauma. Oh, I think it was actually Russell Brand's book, but he was talking about someone else. So I don't know whose method is it. So the story is that basically when they were looking into traumas and why trauma, when trauma happens, like what is actually the big deal around it. It's not the event that it happened, is the like you thinking in the future or in the past from it and giving it a meaning, and you suffering because of the meaning that you gave it. And it's usually like when someone dies, it's like you, what hurts the most is you thinking, oh my god, I'll never see them again. It's usually like going in the future, and you know, it's a loss, it is, but it's also just a projection, is a story that you make in your mind. And it's like we are such drama queens. Like we love to make the biggest story out of things that are happening. And we're just like, we're gonna die if this person is not around us, we're gonna, like, our life is ruined, and like all the stuff. And this is the story, this is the meaning that we're giving ourselves. And that's why it's, I'm not saying that bad thing doesn't happen, don't get me wrong, because we are like surrounded with, like, I think each and every one of us has been through a lot of hard stuff in lives. But in the end, it's always the meaning that you give it. So the story behind it, what kind of story are you telling yourself? And same comes to when it comes to anxiety in the present moment. If you're anxious right now, it's because the story of what you want to happen and what is happening is not matching. And or even worse, the story of how you think the future should go and how it looks like the future will go from now doesn't match. So it's like you're basically comparing two stories that none of them exists, like your prediction of the future and how it currently looks like the future looks like. And I think the most important thing that we have to remind ourselves is both those predictions, like both of those stories, are based on what we know right now. So right now we know only things that we've been through. So right now we only know the past. We only know the situation that has already happened. We only know what's possible based on what had already occurred. So we are usually creating the future from our past. So we are, bringing events together, or whatever we saw in the movie or whatever we saw somewhere, and we are like kind of like shaping it, like, oh yeah, this is the story of the future, this is how I see my future going and unfolding and whatever. And it's never the way we are saying it. I mean, my personal belief is that it's always better than the way I plan it. But the problem is that, your plans and your expectations and the goals and everything that you said that you want to achieve, it's often so off from what you really want. And I think this is a main source of anxiety. I think we're really so hard on ourselves, and we really often make ourselves believe that we need to have a certain kind of career and certain kind of life, certain kind of success to be worthy or to prove that we are, worthy of stuff. And all these images of how life should be are coming from outside of us. And I see this with myself a lot. It's like, if I really accept what I want, so what I feel it's my soul calling, and what I feel like it's my greatest desire to do and create, it's when I'm really listening to that voice within me, it's like nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how my stuff are accepted. It doesn't matter what other people think of me. It doesn't matter like what kind of success I have from doing it. All it matters to me is just, oh yes, I have been following this voice and I know it's the right thing to do, and it makes me feel so great. And it's been like the joy of the process, the joy of creating is so huge that it's just like, wow, it's amazing. And I don't need anything else. It's like an inner fulfillment. However, there is also a story of how I think that my life should go based on the society standards, or based on the standards of this industry, or based on the standards of Instagram, or whatever, you know. And if we're not conscious of it, we can get trapped into it so fast. And what happens afterwards is that, you know, all the dreams, all the things that you want to do solely from your own personal space and from your own desire of like, yeah, I want to create this because it's joyful, because it's fun. All of a sudden you start thinking like, oh, what should I do to kind of match the idea of what I think that my life should look like? So all of a sudden your creations start being around, you know, the end goal. It starts being around like, oh yeah, if I want to attract these people, or if I want to, I don't know, like have this kind of success, I should be creating this. I should be acting this way. I should talk about these things. And yes, it works. It actually gets you to the image that you want to be there, because, you know, fake it till you make it, or fake it till you become it, or whatever you want to call it. It's like, you can definitely, you know, if you know where you're going, you will get there, and you need to have a strategy to come there and all the stuff. However, the most crucial thing to acknowledge within yourself is to really ask yourself whether this image of success that you have, this idea of how your life should be like, is this yours? Or did you take it from Instagram? Or did you take it from your parents? Or did you take it from, you know, someone else's success? And it's important to really accept for yourself, what kind of success do you want? For example, for me, it was really fascinating all the time, because when I started working in the coaching industry, like, my obvious desire was, I want to speak on the biggest stages, and I want to, you know, work with masses, and I want to have like a lot of, you know, people that are learning from me and all those stuff. And it's funny because like if I'm not conscious, I'm like, my ego is really chasing that, and I can so easily get trapped into like, oh yeah, this is what I have to do right now to get to, you know, bigger audience, to get to this, to get that. However, if I really connect to myself, to my soul, to my desires, I have no desires for like huge masses. Like, I don't like a lot of people, you know, I don't like the idea that someone is praising me as their rescuer or their goddesses or whatever. I really like, what I really love is the individual work. I know I'm extremely powerful in one-on-one sessions, and every single session that I have proves me that. And I really love working with successful people, with people that have a huge influence, with people that are, you know, on I don't know, CEO positions, or that they are actors or singers, or someone that is actually bringing stuff to the world that is influencing masses. So I remember I had that like aha moment, like 2 years ago when I was like, you know what, it's not like, maybe I do feel like, yes, I can be influencing masses, but not directly. Like my real wish is to influence them through the people that I'm influencing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm more passionate about helping individuals that want to go really deep within themselves and really get to know themselves, versus like helping masses on the surface level, because I am all about going deep and I cannot deny this, and I cannot make my content, just surface level just because I want to attract more people. I do crave to keep my content deep and just attract the right people. And this is like a constant reminder that I have to have within myself. And also like just accepting that, hey, this is my real desire. I don't need to have the desires like everyone else has it. It can be my own personal, like I can create my own personal way of how success looks like. And when I was asking myself, why is this an issue? Like, why is this a problem if I'm like more satisfied working with individuals and working with like specific one-on-one stuff versus like with masses? Of course, like from an ego perspective, like usually people don't know that I help them, like that I help like people individually. So, with the masses, you can count the followers, you can count the amount of people in the room, you can count the amount of likes, amount of shares. So it seems like the success is countable, therefore it makes you feel like it's more important or more significant. However, if you were doing like individual work and you are working with specific people and you changed one person's life from the core, it gives you, like, for example, for me, it gives me like greater satisfaction versus knowing that I shifted the mood of like 1,000 people for like a second, however, for my ego, it's still like, yeah, but no one knows about it, it's like my parents or my grandparents are still saying like, oh, does anyone really want to come to your session? Because no one can see that people are coming to your sessions. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting to have this battle within yourself and to come to the realization of like, hey, like I don't need to want these things. Like this is not like a success as I feel it or as I imagine it. And I do believe that, it's like in the end, I always thought that for you to really change the world, to make an influence, it's all about the numbers. It's all about like reaching more people. But I don't like, maybe I subconsciously still believe that because I feel like I still sometimes go into that trap of like, hey, I want to have more people. But on a conscious level, I understand that like me helping someone on a core level, like going into the depths and changing lives there, can be so much more important than helping hundreds of people on the surface level for a few seconds or a minute. And like I think that what I want you, the reason why I explained this story and what I want you to get out of it is to really, really be honest with yourself. How does your success look like? And what do you really, really want? And it's totally okay if you don't like stuff that other people like, or if other people believe that this is what you should want or should have and you don't want it. It's perfectly fine. It's totally okay. And it's important for you to remember that when timing is right, everything will align. Things will come. You will know. It's like the life is always unfolding in a beautiful, beautiful way. And all we have to remember is that we are the one that are living it, and that we are the one that can choose how we want to live them. And if you are chasing your future from anxiety, from feeling of fear and lack, no matter what you're gonna achieve in the future, it doesn't gonna bring you anything else than more anxiety and more fear and more lack. And like, I do deeply agree with Tony Robbins on this, that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, because there is nothing worse than coming to the end line of like having everything that you ever wanted and realizing like, shit, I don't want that. This is not me. This is not who I am. And I know that I've been trapped into this, and I probably will be again and again, like trapped into the ego of believing, oh yeah, I should do that. I really feel like I should do that. And then realizing like, oh yeah, this is the idea that I got from somewhere else, from Instagram. I don't really like that, And I think it's like important to remind ourselves that when anxiety comes up, it's because stories that what we see or what we think that we see for the future is not matching with what we want to see for ourselves in the future. And I think it's really, really important to dive deep and ask yourself what's behind the anxiety, which fears, which beliefs, which like ideas. And often it's also like, like for me, for example, if there is no masses, I believe that means like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have a sustainable business. But that's all not true. It's like you can have enough people for clients, and you can, I don't know, publish a book or do so many creative things, how you can earn money. It doesn't need to be through your solid stuff. And I never felt for myself that I'm an initiator, which means like I don't feel like organizing an event for 100 people and trying to fill it up for myself and stuff like that. I don't feel like being an initiator. I can so easily go and be invited to be a speaker and speak in front of 100 people, but like I'm not going to be the one that's going to initiate the workshops and start. So I do feel like I'm a more like, like creator of content, and not so much as a creator of this vessels of how masses of people are gaining knowledge, or whatever you want to say. So yeah, but I think it's like it took me a lot of like self-observation to come to this point. And like I said, I still often feel like off, and I feel like, oh, my ego is just like here interrupting me with my mission, because it's more shiny to want other stuff. So let's want other stuff for a month or two and then realize that we don't want them. And that's how it is. I think it's an ongoing journey, but yeah, I just wanted to remind you that it's very, very important of how you look at your future. And if you're chasing your future from the point of anxiety, to really ask yourself whether it's this your story or if you borrow it from someone else, and just come to the core of the story. And if you don't like it and you realize that it's not yours, please feel free to change it and choose whatever story serves you best. So thank you guys for listening. If you love this, like this, I would appreciate if you share it on your social media so that I see that you were listening. And also if you subscribe to this podcast, it helps me be more motivated to record more of them. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.